Good morning. I'm Dr. Moore. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Associate Program Director for the Residency and a Movement Disorder faculty member. I'm honored to lead our Duke Educators Academy in Neurology, which includes this series that Dr. Spector was mentioning. I hope my short presentation this morning will empower the residents and others of us who need mentorship, which includes me. It's also to equip the mentors in the department, which also includes me, to empower mentees to make the most of this important relationship. So hopefully it's applicable to everyone here and listening. So pulling from the literature on mentorship and academic medicine, Nasser and colleagues editorialize on a successful mentorship relationship in their 2020 paper. I encourage you to take a look at it, and it will be cited at the end because it very briefly lists out some important skills for a mentor and a mentee to have to make this a successful relationship. You can see some of them here, and I want to draw your attention to the fact that on the mentee side, a lot of these things are much more active. And so they have really focused on empowering the mentee to drive the relationship and be more active in the relationship, which can be very challenging for mentees. And so in particular, we're going to focus on these two factors: you drive the relationship and set expectations. These can be a bit of a black box for mentees. And I think this comes from, early on in training, often we are placed into mentorship dyads by a program director, a medical school, a structured program. And that really puts the mentee in some ways in the passenger rather than the driver's seat. And so it can be easy just to be passive in this relationship. But in order to make the most of a mentorship relationship, mentees must learn some of these critical skills. And a mentor, as I mentioned, can empower the mentee to do them, but the mentorship will be much less successful if the mentor is taking on all of these steps on behalf of the mentee. So the role of the mentee, as I mentioned, can apply to most of us in the room, but at the very least, those of us who mentor can enable mentees with some of these tips. So let's talk about setting expectations. That's one of the first things you want to do when you're establishing any relationship, and certainly with a mentorship one. Whereas some of the formal mentorship programs, like the one we have in the residency, are predetermined as to the minimal number of meetings and some of the structural things around that. It's important to feel enabled as a mentee to drive that relationship. Show your mentor you're engaged and active, and a mentor will often feel more valued and engaged themselves if the mentee is taking the lead in developing some of these ground rules and what they're looking for in the relationship. It's strongly suggested that mentees develop an agenda. Even consider writing it out and sending it to your mentor ahead of time. This makes sure that the mentee is getting the most out of their time. Of course, there's more to it than the administrative features. And so the literature supports the mentee taking the initiative in the content and the context of the meeting. Are you looking for a research mentor, career planning, advice on balancing family and work goals? This is typically not going to be all in one person. And so you're looking for multiple mentors to help you with different aspects. Be sure your mentor understands what you're looking for. If it's not the best fit, clear goals will help them direct you to a mentor that can help you meet those goals. So if you're in my mentorship pod and you, for some reason, don't want to do movement disorders, I can help direct you to someone who can help you with your career goals. Let's see, as you establish trust with your mentor, allow for vulnerability, which leads to growth. Part of establishing the relationship should include establishing the privacy of your conversations and what stays in the room. This is the time to get into the meat of any issues that you're dealing with to become your best self. So to this end, consider completing the mentee meeting checklist provided by Duke to help you prepare for your first meeting. And associated with this website is tools for the mentor as well, which I'll mention at the end. Finally, there are some other important ground rules for all relationships that are critical in this as well. Importantly, make sure you're communicating with your mentor, show up on time, be prepared, and remember that this can develop into a long-term relationship where you support each other over time. So because I'm a Duke girl and it's basketball season, I had to bring out this really critical photograph, which evidence, as far as I'm concerned, is evidence for mentorship. So for those of you who don't know, this is Coach K and a very young Coach Shire, who's currently our head men's basketball coach. And so I have no idea how old he is, but he's clearly a teen here. And it just shows that it's never too early to start with your mentorship relationship. It's, you imagine the places you'll go. Here are some important references to consider. First is that NSOR paper I mentioned, and the QR codes here are for the resources at Duke, as well as a pretty comprehensive resource for mentors from UCSF. As you're getting those resources in your photo album, I'd encourage those of you in the room who are faculty and staff who are interested in becoming a better educator and improving education across our department to join us in Dean, the Duke Educator Academy for Neurology. Feel free to send me an email. We're planning 2025 now. Thanks so much and happy holidays.